other day.
Reading a book?
Yes, it's all about civilization or something. A nutty kind of a book. Do you know that the guy says that machinery is going to take the place of every profession?
What do you say?
No.
Tomorrow night?
No.
Next year?
No.
Good. Because by me it's this way. The longer they know, the harder they yes.
Well, I don't want to be honorable with you unless it's absolutely necessary.
Absolutely love having Senator Aric Putnam on the program out of the St. Cloud area. Senator, permission to share a little what we talked about in the green room?
Oh, absolutely, especially because you were talking about how I look like last night. If that's where you're going to go. I did not, but I did just wake up. That's the truth.
It was not. No, okay. No, that wasn't what I was going to do. I've just been kind of, I don't know if melancholy is the word. I'm trying very hard to look at this from a 10,000-foot level. But I realize my disappointment, I think, is spending as much time as I do discussing what's going on at the Capitol and how this whole process works. It isn't fifth grade civics class. It isn't what I wished it was. And what I mean by that is you get your guy. I voted Putnam in. He's my guy. He votes for what I want. And he goes in and he fights on the floor and everything's important. And we get things done that we all want done. But in reality, and I don't mean to rip you at the knees here, sir, it always seems to come down to the leadership team going in the little huddle room, which we're doing now. The governor, his people, the head of the Senate, the head of the House are going in, and we'll figure this thing out. And once again, at the bright hour of 11 p.m. one night, they're going to say, here's 16,000 pages, Mr. Putnam, vote what your people want. It's not pretty, and it's not what we study. Am I wrong? Am I just really in a bad mood about all this?
No, here's the thing, and I'm going to lose you some listeners here, but this is one of the reasons why I dig you, why we're pals, is that you're interested in reality.
Yep. Well,
and there's not a whole lot of that in politics.
Yeah.
And it's not the left or the right, Democrats or Republicans. It's the entire party. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me too. It bugs me. That's why I don't speak on the floor very much, because it's just theater, and I don't have much interest in that kind of theater.
See, I think that is why we get along, because I really would like it to be more. Right now, I think it breaks down. My side has to get the most votes because that way I have the biggest team in that set of 6 people, and then we win. It isn't. My guy Aric, he on the big stuff, he and I agree, and we can. It isn't that anymore, and it's just wrong. And to start out, why we're there, sir. Any chance in the world, if you're going to put $100 down, not that betting's legal in Minnesota, that you get done on Monday? No, wait, it's constitutional. It says you got to be done Monday.
I think laughter is the best response to that. I mean, it's the thing, like, well, no, honestly, although we could if we tried.
Whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean? They're not trying up there?
Well, no, what I think that there is, you're talking about these people in this room. It's not just Democrats and Republicans. It's House versus Senate versus governor. Everyone wants to look like they won. That's a big part of what's going on here. Partially, it's for policies that you believe in, but it's also so that you can look like your team won. And those teams are much more complicated than we think they are out in regular life. It's not Democrats versus Republicans. It's people versus people. It's personal relationships that have soured. All those complexities go into this final soup. And I think a little while ago, people were looking at the bigger picture and the smaller picture and all these different kinds of things. And they decided, well, it's best for us to kind of just sort of assume we're going to a special session. Now, that being said, I know there are some people who are working really hard to try to find out the budget targets. But I think as a whole, the legislature kind of decided a little while ago that the odds of us getting done were not great, but also that there might be more political hay to make if we don't.
And I think that says a lot. Let's just do this because I'm not a smart man, and I think you know that being an educator. I don't understand how, at this point, 5 days before we're supposed to be done with work, the head honchos are getting together to put their totals together. Will the governor sign a $62 billion deal? Will the Senate go with, and I don't know what number it is. We're literally right now deciding if those can go together. Isn't that the first step? Isn't the fact that big dogs get together a month ago and say, this is the number, we hit a number, people, we can live with this, and now your department, your committee can say, this is our portion of that. That's all we have to play with. It seems back-asswards that you guys are planning on the special ed or the education department money, and then when it goes up to the top, they're like, Putnam got too much. That ain't going to work. Go back to work, Putnam. You see what I'm saying? It's backwards.
Well, so I'm going to get too a little into the weeds right now, and I apologize.
I want to understand.
It's probably pretty important. There's two different theories for budget that are operating right now, and you see them in the House budget and the Senate budget. The Senate budget balances what we call in the tail. So we balance the budget for 4 years because in 4 years is when we actually have the real deficit happen. So balancing in 2 years doesn't make a whole lot of sense because you're just kicking the can down the road.
You're going to have a bigger problem if you don't take some of it now. You're going to run into a big wall in 2 years. Got it.
Exactly it. So the Senate, Republicans and Democrats in the Senate, although largely the DFL majority because we're the ones who are in charge, we balanced in 4 years. The House balanced in 2 years. So they don't even want to worry about the 4 year thing. So right now, these two different theories that are trying to work out the math, which is part of the problem, is there's one theory, which is you go, okay, here's agriculture. That's something we can pass. Let's figure out its budget, get it off the table. Okay. The other theory is how much money do we have? Because we have to know if we're balancing in 2 years versus 4. So the Senate wants to say, what's our total pile? And then divvy it up. The House wants to divvy it up and not
tell you the number
about the big pile.
See, but this is how this bothers me if I can. So agriculture, you guys get yours done. You got her figured out. Life is good. Do you go talk to the ag on the other side in the House and say, hey, we're at this number, get it in there. Otherwise, once we get all done again, we're meeting at a table to say, mine is this much and yours is that much. They have to be the same, correct?
That's kind of what we're waiting for. So I've been meeting with, because, I'm the chair of ag, and I've met with the chairs in the House, and we're basically, like, we all want to spend money on the same stuff, but we're just not sure how much we get to spend, so we have to wait.
See, that's my point. It makes no sense. You could do your work if you had a number. If everybody agreed, the big dogs agreed a month and a half ago, ag gets this much. No, you guys go figure, it would be done. I don't understand the process, and it drives me more than a little crazy because two things happen here. And we'll take a light thing before we go to break. Two things happen. You get the massive Billy bill at the end, and it's like, I got the bullet points. My team says I can say these 5 things are fantastic. The other team says these 5 things are fantastic. Had to vote for it, even if I hated all the other things. And we get these omnibus bills. Then things happen like, I don't know if people understand possibly the worst thing that was ever done. For a man who owns a 1962 Ford Fairlane. I got last year, sorry. I can't get keys made for it after June 1st. The key controversy. Have you heard this, my friend?
No. What's up with keys?
Are you kidding me?
No. What's going on?
In the big bills last year, you guys have to own this, and I want you to own this, my friend.
I will.
In 2023,
own the keys to your car.
2023, y'all owned all sides of the fence. My point is, in one of the things in one of the bills was replacing the amount of lead and cadmium that could be in products, and unbeknownst to anybody because we didn't think through the problem, in my opinion. Oh, the key guys. Your keys have like 2% lead in them so that they can cut them, at the hardware store so I can get a new key for my car. That's illegal. As of June 1st, if you guys don't put in the new big bill that's coming, the exception to keys, you will not be able to go to the key guy. And I wouldn't even know about this, but I went to go to a new key for my car. He goes, thank God you got in here now, because a month from now, it's illegal for me to do this. And I'm like, serious? I had no clue. So if you don't get this past Putnam, and I can't get a new key for my car, it's you I'm blaming.
That's totally fine. And you're going to take away your offer to drive me around parades in St. Cloud that you made a little while ago?
I will if I can't get in the car, yes. No, but and I joke about it. It's a key thing. It'll take 2 seconds to fix this thing. But that's the kind of stuff that happens when everybody needs a little something to sweeten their pot to get it in. I don't know, the cadmium coalition that pushed that. I have no idea. I wasn't there. But you get my point? It's the unintended consequences because you can't spend the time to discuss. You can't talk with the ag guy about this one particular thing because we're not worried about it yet until the final push. That's why this is so wrong. The process is wrong.
Well, so I'm with you for that in the most part. And that's why there's 2 parts we need to fix very quickly. One is that we need to talk to people more when we're doing stuff, but unintended consequences are by definition unintended. You can't see them. So one, you have to like.
You're sticking up for the cadmium coalition. Is that what you're doing right now, buddy, on this show?
No, but there's this thing where people get so possessive about legislation and stuff like that. Like, I pass this, it can't be changed. That's crap.
Yeah.
Like everything we do, we have to continually revisit it. So that's what I'm saying. There's two things. We do a better job at talking to people in the first place, and secondly, we have to be able to be grown up enough.
I am so glad you brought that up. On the other side, because I got to go to break. On the other side, I want to talk about, there's this blue dog, 6 of you that are sitting out there. I wonder what you just said, how true that is. I agree 100%. We do a law, we find out there's a key issue, we can fix that, right? I mean, technically, really a key issue here for key guys. But does that hold for things like, what is it? Illegal immigrants getting free health care. There's one there, and I'll have the other one. I got it written down. That two things that I know Senator French came out and said, we might need to look at this. And he got some pushback from his own side, and people don't like getting pushback from their own side, my friend. You don't mind if I give you a hard time, but when your own side does. We'll be back after this with more.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you its most popular show of all time, Grease. You'll hear all your favorite hits from the Broadway musical and the movie. Join the whole gang at Rydell High. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll bring you back to high school life in the 50s. Poodle skirts, bobby socks, the soda shop, and drive-in movies. Grease! It'll rock your socks off. Order your tickets today. Visit chanhassendt.com.
You know that car sound that sounds like a cricket playing a banjo? Jay's can fix that. You know when you step on the brakes and your car sounds like a pair of tennis shoes in the dryer? Paul is a guy who specializes in that. And you know that sound that never happens when the mechanic's around? Paul took a whole course on that. If you own a car, you need to know Paul. Paul owns Jay's Auto Shop, 202 North Main Street, Blue Earth, 525-1052, 525-1052.
The Al Travis Show, the last place you can go and hear all sides. Respectful, thoughtful, and grateful.
Love it that Senator Putnam put this out on the plate today, because I think it shows exactly what we were talking about earlier. There's two ways this could work when you're 34-33 in the Senate, when you're 67-67 in the House. You can find people are going to seriously vote their conscience, what they really think is true, or you're going to find these things where you just got to vote party lines or I'm going to be in trouble. Senator Nick French, this is a story 2 days ago. I didn't bring it up, but I found my note. He was talking about summer unemployment for schools, that sort of thing. If you're a janitor now, you can file for unemployment, or if you're the cook or whatever. You guys were in charge 2 years ago. You had $17 billion. You guys did what you want to do. I am not ripping it at all. But the fact that we now have this, like you say, 4 years from now, $6 billion thing, what's something we should look at? And French came out and said we might want to look at it. The same with the illegals in Minnesota getting Minnesota Care. It would make sense that people in the middle say, you know what, the thing we got to look at is the last thing we added onto the pile is maybe the first thing we got to look at taken off the pile. And he got in trouble for what trouble? I mean, slapped his wrist. They're like, hey, wait a minute. I think that's going to show a lot, whether we can actually look at these things and be honest with each other, or if we're going to have to go down party lines. Your thoughts?
I think you're right, by and large. Like I was saying before.
Do you want to know how often you say that? My wife doesn't say that often about me.
Would you realize I'm a politician, so I have to say that to everybody?
Oh, that's a good point.
But also, in case you notice, I'll say I think you're right, and then I'll disagree with you.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm supposed to do. So the butt was right around the corner. The butt was coming.
Okay. Give me the butt.
But I think you're right. Like whether we should always look back. Like we were saying before, like everything here is a work in progress. So you think you have the best idea in the whole wide world. There's unintended consequences, and it's your responsibility to look again. I'm not talking about that specific policy, but in general, we should always be open to doing better. That's just the way it's got to be. But there are, there are, I guess, sort of. I'm not sure what the right metaphor is, but sometimes people are on a pretty tight string here. And when you say, I want to think about that or look at that, they go, you can't get rid of that forever. And you're like, that's not what I was saying. I was saying I want to think about it.
You see, and that was the point. The far left, and I don't remember the actual senator's name, came out. We did not fight to get this far, to get these rights for folks to have them be pulled away. And I get that argument. We had the money, we did this, we think it's something everyone should have. I'm not arguing your argument. But then if not that, and you see $6 billion coming, then what do we look at? The Republicans are trying to paint that you guys are going to take it away from nursing homes and everybody's going to paint somebody with an ugly stick. Let's just be honest with it. Okay, you're going to fight for that right you finally got. I get it. But then you got to come up with something else. What would that be?
I think you're still fighting for it when you try to make it work. I think you're still fighting for it when you do that. And it's
with the key thing being the exception. People need keys, okay? I got a whole house here that need keys. I lose keys. Well, that's the only exception to the rule.
There is. It's so funny because even that policy was already a function of compromise. So to get all absolutist about it afterwards is dishonest. Like it's ignorant. It's dishonest. Like to get all absolute about it afterwards, it's just not. And that's what we do. Like that's the nature of our job. That's why we're in a democracy. Yeah. That's the thing that people forget too, that a constitutional republic, a democracy, like our job is compromise, and we're not heroes. We're bureaucrats. And I think sometimes people forget that.
How does this end?
Let me put it that way. They like to forget. They try to forget because righteousness is a hell of a lot easier than doing work.
I don't disagree with that. How do you see this ending, my friend, with the last 2 minutes?
Never.
It's not happening Monday. We don't think Monday it ends.
I'm going with never. Can I go with never?
No, you can't. What happens is if we don't get June 30th, if you don't get it done by June 30th, then we're closing things down, and that'll be heck for everybody to pay, right?
No, I'm being goofy. I really do. We are going to get it done, and people are working really hard right now to try and figure out this budgetary stuff because it's, do you balance in 4 years versus 2? That's a legitimate question, and where we just go here, there, anywhere, and people are working really hard on it. But I think that it's pretty clear we're going to go into special session. I don't know when we're going to get called back, but my guess would be we'll get targets in a day or two. We won't be able to get much done, and then we'll be. We'll get a couple weeks off for everyone to get their stuff together, and then we'll get called back when there is a deal, like a global deal, and we'll pass it probably pretty close to when we were constitutional.
How does that all happen? So let's just say Monday it doesn't happen. We're going to go to special session. You all go home while they get things ready for you to come back and make one vote. Are the committees getting together so you and the ag guy on the other side are getting the same stuff? You guys have to come back and make that match, right?
Yeah, I don't know how this works either. I've never been in a kind of a situation, so I don't know what's going on either. But
question from the host, always bad. Sorry.
No, I think that what my understanding is that once the session is kind of over and we go into special session mode, everything is a do-over. So you kind of have
Okay.
to sort of start from scratch again.
Oh,
Um,
wow. All
but
right.
we'll do that as chairs. We'll get together because they'll create, I think they're called work groups because you can't have a conference committee anymore. So we'll create little work groups that are supposed to finish the bill. I know, it sounds silly.
Where's
Um,
the things you guys actually do worry about is interesting. Well, we can't have committees. Oh, but we could do work groups? Fine. What does that mean? All the same people doing the same stuff. Wow. As long as we got that covered. Glad, but the key thing, that gets past you people? I'm just kidding. I didn't know about the key thing. I literally went to get a key made. The guy said, thank God you got here this month because next month it's illegal. I will not share who I got my key made from, but he said until I run out of all these keys in that rack, I'm still doing it illegal. He's going to do it on the cuff. He doesn't think
I can
people will come
imagine
arrest him.
being key cops who are going down to arrest the key guy. Would that be the Keystone cops? Are those the ones who do that?
We'll end on that. That was huge.